Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are in the world. I hope you're doing fine. Not necessarily perfect, but at least fine. At least in a position to take care of yourself and take care of the people you care about. And for those of you who are in a position to do so, I hope you're able to take care of the underprivileged. And like me, I hope you're doing at least a little more than merely virtue signaling. Something like someone I know does, who can actually help people. Someone who joins me every week discussing various topics to your listeners. Someone who I have never praised on this channel and I probably never will again. Or someone who I never praise in person for sure. So, listeners, please welcome the dangerously decent, the paralytically peaceful, the casually calm Chintan Bhatt. That's right. No Chintan Bhatt. It's just me today. Sorry, guys. It's just my boring voice you'll have to listen to. Chintan's out of town. He's unable to join us today. He's probably taking care of himself, taking all the precautions required, social distancing and all that. But let's see. Let's hope I can still manage to get enough material to keep you guys interested. And if you haven't figured it out, you probably haven't. No, you might actually, through the title. Today's topic is agricultural trends worldwide. Our blessed creative title for today. couldn't uh, couldn't think much without Chintan. Let's put it that way. I wasn't inspired or motivated to do that. And don't tell him any of this. It'll be embarrassing. I'll never talk to him about any of this stuff. I'll never tell him I praise him. But yeah, let's get on with it. Let's hope I can keep you engaged for however long this takes. It could be anywhere between 15 minutes to any 1 hour. I have no idea. So, well, agriculture has started around 12,000 years ago. It's when our moderns, well, modern is probably not the right word, but it's when our civilization started. When we started, when we consider that a significant transition, primarily from early men to a civilized society. Let's say society, a community. Because before we were hunter gatherers, I think I'm referring to some content I read on in what was it Sapiens. I think he says that we were hunter gatherers before, and eventually we got into agriculture, and that kept us as a society. There was division of labor, more complex systems, more complex societies that we formed. And we've come a long way from them. Today's agriculture looks very different from what we started with, obviously, clearly. And that's what I intend to discuss today. It's a huge industry. It's an exciting industry. I hope I do it justice. And what you see here is a picture of actually a modern system of agriculture. It's a satellite image, and I believe it's somewhere in Saudi Arabia. I'll explain the details over the course of this talk. And let's start with a new technology that I'm interested in. I'm actually about to visit a farm that uses this very same technology. And it's quite exciting, and many of you again might know it, but for those of you that don't, it's something you should look up, and it's called hydroponics. I think the word derives from it has some Greek etymology, and hydro standing for water, ponics. Let's see, is it saying? I couldn't say. I think ponics has to do with work or something along those lines. So, well, to explain it as a commoner, I would describe it as agriculture or farming done with water as a base for the roots of the plants, which means it's a soilless farming. What does it say? Hydroponics is a subset of hydroculture, which is a method of growing plants without soil. There you go. In a gist, that's what it is. So, if I describe it, what you do is you'd inject or you'd mix nutrients into the water, and that water flows to the roots of these plants that are placed on a substrate or some kind of medium, and that water carries the nutrients to the plant, and that is sufficient for the plant to grow. A lot of these hydroponic systems are grown indoors, so which means it doesn't even require direct sunlight to grow. Counterintuitive to what we naturally understand and what naturally plants require and what we've been doing for thousands of years. It doesn't require light or soil. It's quite revolutionary if you ask me. Now it's not entirely a new new form of farming, as in, well, it could be, it may or may not be. There are a lot of claims by various cultures that they had some form of hydroponics or the other during their time, whether it's the Aztecs, the Greeks, or you name it. You know, several civilizations across, the Egyptians maybe had it, and several civilizations. If I had to guess, I'd even guess that some systems in India were using some form of hydroponics. So, well, it might not be a new idea, but the current day developments are significant, and it's gaining popularity given our environmental concerns and what other concerns? Multiple other concerns are the weather, the change of weather, primarily the environmental concerns, water crisis, resources. You know, making a sustainable model and limiting our resources seems to have made this particular form of farming um, trendy, popular, useful, and yeah, exciting. Definitely exciting. So that's hydroponics. If you see the image on the right, there's a guy. It's on a substrate. It's on a bed. You don't see soil there, but they have some kind of medium they put it underneath that white color base, or inside the white color base. If you see, there's a pipeline that takes water to the base, and that's what's carrying the nutrients. And these also, the water is supposed to be oxygenated sufficiently in order to provide oxygen. So the roots don't have to do much work finding the nutrients in the soil. Instead, nutrients are brought to the root, and that's the key feature, key benefit of the system. History. I think, yes, like it says here, in the 1930s, there was a scientist that suggested the idea, but his own University of California, Berkeley, they did not provide him their facilities to experiment. They were skeptical about his ideas, but he too believed it wasn't the right time for hydroponics. It was ahead of his time, and he might have been right, I guess. But eventually, he was proven right, and you know, it's a brilliant system. It works well. It's highly productive. With one feature I probably didn't mention, I should have. The yield, the rate of yield it's significantly accelerated. So, for example, the spinach and kale, different kinds of spinach that's grown during using the system, would grow maybe once or twice a year. But because of hydroponics, you might get 5 different seasons, because you can even grow it off season. You don't need it's inside. It's hydroponics is done inside a controlled environment where you control the temperature and you know, the amount of sunlight if you need it. If it's in a greenhouse, the flow of air, oxygen, nutrients, water supply, all these things. It's a controlled environment. You see, so as a result, you can, to a large extent, emulate the the comfortable conditions for the plant to grow in. You know, the suitable. It's a conducive environment, and that's a huge benefit, right? That's a use of technology to increase productivity, output, you name it, right? It's the beauty of technology. It's the purpose of technology. So do things that nature could do better. It doesn't always succeed, but in this case, it does seem to be the case. So that's in the 1930s, and eventually we came a long way. We did many other books written on it. You know, he went and wrote a book of the causes of many grants, the facilities, and yeah, now we're here. I could go into the details of hydroponics, but as I'm talking about it, I'm not sure if you're entirely interested. But urge our listeners to go to YouTube, watch the videos on YouTube on the topic and study about it. And honestly, if you have the facilities, you should, whether it's land requirements, friends, lands, money. I mean, if you could loan for governments, provides you with the facilities, you should, or maybe even have a small garden in your home. You should go out and try growing things using this method. It's very easy and it has a huge benefit, uh, and something you should try. So there are multiple methods. You have aeroponics. You have where they just spray. They use aerosol and the liquefied nutrient water mixture is gasified, and you can directly all the roots require is the mist and the water that comes to it. So that's pretty exciting. You should check it out. That's an agricultural trend. Eesh. As I speak, I realize how boring it can be without someone else talking in the podcast. You need someone to make fun of, someone to make fun of you, or some kind of goofer. It's difficult to manufacture goof ups on your own. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm sure lots of you. Well, I'm not sure, but I hope some of you are at least enjoying this. But let's get on to the next. So this is just a indication, suggestion of how hydroponics is growing in the world. What does it say? So they expect that as of 2019, it was 8.1 markets and markets.com. All the links will be in the description. As of 2018, 19, the market was 8.1 billion. It's expected to double by 2025. I looked up what CAGR was. I think it stands for compounded annual growth rate. I'm for now I'm relatively weak in maths and economics. I will one day become better, hopefully. But I think it's okay. It's more than 12%. I did the math. It's more than 12% a year. So I'm not sure if it works like compound interest, but either way, given the values, it means that yeah, in 6 years it'll double. And that's a crazy trend. It's exciting. Some of the benefits that are listed about hydroponics, there's higher yield. I think most of them I've mentioned already. There's a higher yield. There's high yield meaning I told you, right? It's more efficient. So therefore, you'll have more number of harvesting seasons per year. One way to describe it. Lack of government policy and tax breaks in developing countries. Here, it states this as a disadvantage. In my opinion, it could be an advantage. It might give opportunity to people to, explore, experiment with the system, and that might be beneficial. But I think what they're referring to is the subsidies that the government would give to the general traditional farmers to grow their crops. That obviously helps a lot of farmers. I guess you could debate on whether it has a overall benefit to the economy and society, but yeah, we won't get into that discussion for this video. Right, another one, entrance of new players in the market. That's a benefit. Competition is always good and ensures that to a large extent it ensures good behavior, favorable to the community, to the buyers, the customers, to the economy. Multiple regions. Oh, there's a mention of India here. Sorry, my instinctual patriotism kicks in when I see my country name. I will improve on that. Don't listeners forgive me for it, but I will become a better person. I'm trying to be this global citizen. Yeah, I don't know, for better or worse. It is developed, effective, and accessible. Yeah. So this is something. So like I said, I'm gonna visit a facility tomorrow, and I'm pretty excited to check it out. Hopefully, it's something. I mean, I'm pretty sure I will enjoy it, and maybe your viewers will like. Spread of waterborne diseases, algae and closed systems. Oh, this is a risk. So, because you're dealing with water, and the water is recycled. One thing I didn't mention is the water is recycled in hydroponics. So it's less use of water. That's why you're saving water. I did say we were saving water. I didn't say how, but one of the ways we're saving water is by recycling. And the risk of recycling water is that if it's not kept in dark environments, if it's exposed to too much sunlight and the conditions are conducive, it is possible for fungus and various other organisms to grow in the water and eventually infect the plants because you're continuously watering the plants with the same supply. So that's a risk you should take care of, and seems to be a problem that's easily solvable with little diligence and care and focus and preparation, scholarship, a little learning, and you'd be fine. The base of system, the liquid system segments is projected to be the largest contributor. But okay, I'm not sure what that means. Nice market liquid is projected to. Okay, I think they again referring to the water supply system and closed model that's referring to the recycling of water. Somehow using liquids makes it easier than soil. I guess it's easier to transport. Access to the liquids are easier. You don't need to. There's very little work you have to do to prepare the liquid. In contrast to preparing the soil. Hydroponic farming has majority of vegetable production. Majorly adopted for vegetable production, of course. LED lights have, yeah, this is another cool thing. So this is one huge contributor to the benefits of indoor farming. So hydroponics is often done indoors and without the need of sunlight. So indoor allows you to protect the plants from the various sporadic environmental bursts or season change. We'd have bursts of storms or rains or you name it, if it's too hot. And all of it could be automated too. And I'll show in the video these high-tech systems, super advanced. For those of you who have no idea of what the agricultural trend or tech is today, you'd be amazed. It's stuff sci-fi movies could be made out of, and they probably have been made out of that. But still something that fascinates any new viewer. Europe is projected to account for the largest market size forecast. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, I think the trend is worldwide, but Europe, I think they already have a huge adoption. This is of 2019 May, so it's almost exactly 1 year after this study has been posted. And currently, it seems to be the case that Europe is the leading adopter of hydroponics technology, and a lot of greenhouses, a lot of technology that uses these methods and systems, and as a result, they're exporting, importing, they're catering to their own demands, highly successful, but the trend is worldwide. And you will see in time if you already haven't. And it's fascinating. So one other key advantage I should probably mention is oftentimes food and your vegetables, crops, the food you require is grown outside or significantly substantially further from where you stay, hundreds of kilometers. And that's because the farmland is present only in these rural areas, not in the cities. As a result, you have many middlemen. You have, there's less trust in the procurement of these vegetables and food. And as a result, you might not get the produce you like. You might not get the best quality. You might not get the best prices. There's a lot of trust involved, and there's a lot of, for example, in India, the problem is it gets dirty and ugly, literally and metaphorically speaking. So all those problems could be resolved because these hydroponics farms could be built within the cities, in the cities, in abandoned factories. As you will see again, I'll show you. You will see, maybe it's a good time to show now. You will see that, for example, this is a farm in America. It's a very good video, something you should watch. I've seen it several times. It's the title says high-tech vertical farming, but I think an alternate name could be a mini documentary of Katie. Katie is a woman you see in that screenshot over there in the thumbnail. She has just recently joined this company. I can't remember the name. And this is by no means an advertisement. I wish it were, to be honest, but it's not. Oh, there it is. Katie loves to work. Bowery Farming, that's the company. This was in 2018, so it's already like 2 years old, but it's a fascinating small documentary. It just shows the working of this vertical farm, which is indoors. All they grow a bunch of crops which are grown under UV lights, as you can see, and uh, hydroponics, automated system, computers decide when to turn off the water, temperature control, you name it, super high tech. Um, as if One thing I didn't mention, out of many things I probably haven't, is vertical farming, the vertical nature. So you can grow the farms vertically, which requires less land, and as a result, again, your limited resources. A lot of advantages. It's immense. So if you consider all the factors I mentioned, it's almost obvious that we are moving towards a hydroponic system. Maybe it's a good time to mention a few disadvantages. And one of the key things is probably for now, I believe there are only a very limited number of vegetables you can grow. So it's like capsicum, tomato, kale, and the lot. What else? A few bunches, and maybe a few flowers. Basil, I think, is one of them. So that I don't know if the technology or research of the future will help us grow more. I believe it could. I hope it could. It'd be amazing if, uh, for for the simple reason, not simple reason, but for the bunch of reasons I mentioned: environmental benefits, sustainable development. Uh, yeah, less land use and all that, protection of crops. And another thing is it's projected that our population of the world could be 10 billion, will be 10 to 11 billion. That's the population reached by 2050, I believe. And that's the world we have to build for, right? There's a famous, what's his name? Hans Skolling or something. I think he died. He did a YouTube video. Population. Boom, boom. I just did that because, I was trying to manage the technical issues I have in the mic without Chintan. He usually takes care of it. So I'm usually the dumb guy on the channel. I talk and sound smart, but I think I always had a talent of giving false impressions. Don't judge a book by its cover, and don't judge it either. What is it? No, that's not. What is the name? That's Gosling? No, that's an actor. Okay, 11 billion population. TED. Get a TED talk. That's the most. Hans Rosling, right? Well, I won't go into detail of what the talk is, but I saw it years ago, and it's again a very interesting idea. I don't know if it's been disproven or whether it's still accepted. I think it's largely accepted. It makes sense to me. To summarize, given the rates at which countries are developing, how education is developing, how the not infant mortality rates, the population, the death rate and the birth rates are changing as a result of that education. He predicts the population of the world cannot go over 10 to 11 billion. It's widely accepted, as you can see, a lot of photos of Bill Gates, but I think it's widely accepted by the community, scientific community, and economic community. If that's the case, what he suggests is us to start planning for 11 billion people and having the technology and social systems in place to cater to those 11 billion. So check it out, check out the video, check out his study. It's interesting. If there are counter studies, do let me know. Something I haven't looked up. I was fascinated by it. And for now, I believe what this man has to say. I think he died recently. There you go. 2017, February 7th. Swedish. Ah, Swedish. He's fucking sweet. Everywhere, aren't they? Eesh. I mean, everywhere in our videos. I don't know why we keep coming across. We talked about PewDiePie last time. I don't know if we talked about it in the video. But anyways, me and Chintan were talking. Guys are sweet. Right. So that's hydroponics, and this is a key factor. I thought I should just mention the food trends, not just the farming trends, but the farming method trends, but the food trends, what people are consuming. And it's a video Chris gesagt. I mean, I don't know if we have ever mentioned this channel, but it's something you should definitely know about. Crazy about, I love it. The animation, their topics, the way they present it, the narrator. Oh, all around. The colleagues is I'm a big fan. They have over 20 million, I would guess 12 million subscribers, less than I would expect. But it's still a lot. And it's a wonderful channel they have. You should check them out. I mean, you might not agree with them. I don't know. Like for example, in this topic, so that's another thing about hydroponics. They don't use any pesticides, and they're not allowed to use in hydroponic farms. You don't use pesticides because that's one of the selling points, I guess. A lot of people prefer their vegetables and fruit without pesticides. So might not always be the case, might not be 100%, but they use very little pesticides. And a lot of farms don't even use pesticides. But to take care of, to compensate for that, what they need to do is maintain a very pristine environment, pristine indoors. So if you see the video I showed you before, this high-tech vertical farmer video, you'll notice that you'll notice that she's wearing gloves, and when the guest, the interviewer comes into this building, she's forced to wear a protection. What do you call it? Protection suit. Yeah, protection suit, like those ones. Those, I don't know, those bomb squad people wear, or those CDC people wear when there's an outbreak of some infection in some area, or nuclear guys. Yeah, I think in Chernobyl, those nuclear people were wearing a suit like that. A jumpsuit, I guess you call it jumpsuit. I don't know. I'm not American. I don't know these words. We learned them from the internet. So I think it's called a jumpsuit, and yeah. So they forced their maybe if I get a, yeah, there you go. I have a clip. Hopefully load. There you go. That's it. Whatever she's wearing, whatever you call it, let me know. So that's the advantage. So because there are less pesticides, it's organic is trendy, right? It's very trendy. It's one of the food trends of the world, and people are just more skeptical about using too many pesticides and GMOs and all that. So this video tries to address those issues. To summarize the conclusions, they say it's not that different, and it shouldn't matter which one you eat. And there are a lot of environmental disadvantages they suggest even in organic farming. I think it primarily has to do with their source of electricity, because electricity is a big deal in hydroponics because they're done on buildings and indoor, right? So you need constant supply for the lights, for the water supply, for the water. Therefore, they might consume a lot more electricity. So I think ultimately what matters is our source of electricity. Produce it. That will solve, in fact, a lot of problems. But the other disadvantages I mentioned earlier aren't discounted. There are a lot of benefits of being indoors. So they conclude that it's not that different. They did. There are multiple contradicting studies, as if stated in the video. So it's not very conclusive, the studies. They did agree that there's somewhat of a consensus that the amount of pesticides used in organic food is a lot less. So there's that. But the counter argument to that is whether it really matters. And according to them, it doesn't matter much. What's the video is fascinating. It's knowledgeable. It might not be something you agree with. It might not be correct, but it gives you some insights and points you to directions you can look into and study if you're interested in that. Also, another trend I probably didn't mention, and I probably never have showed you, is or talked about, is veganism. For those of you who don't know, I am a vegan. Yes. Sorry about that. I hope I haven't lost viewers because of that. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. Just the idea of hurting animals seems excessive to me. And if I stopped, I don't care for animals, honestly, that much. But it just isn't excessive. But let's not get into why I'm a vegan. Undeniably, though, people are moving closer to a vegetarian diet. Their consumption of meat is reducing. For better or worse, I think it's better. I think it's awesome for the environment, for the people, for the animals. But as a result of their consumption of less meat, they're consuming more vegetables, and therefore those trends are increasing. And the production needs to increase. And like I said, 11 billion people for 2050. Today, it's what, 7.5 billion, 8 billion, probably 7.5 billion. And long way to go. The market's going to be bigger. You're going to cater to a larger people. Another thing we'll probably come across in the future slides is that the most of the people will be living in cities. 2/3 of the world population, they say, will be in cities, and therefore they would prefer access of food that is closer to them, that's grown very close to them, somewhere they can see, and it saves time, money, resources, you name it. The economy, it's beneficial costs for the consumer customer. So multiple reasons why vertical farming, indoor farming, hydroponics could all be the future. All right, now to let's move away from hydroponics to something that is far more interesting. It's not specifically to one agricultural trend, but multiple agricultural trends. And before I get into that, I'd like to talk about this website. It's a brilliant website. It got me excited. When I found out about it, I was mind blown. No companies like this I've heard of before. I don't know if they're worldwide, but there's definitely not any company in India. There are probably government agencies that do this kind of stuff. But what they do is they have, like, I think around 100 satellites this company has launched into the space, into the foreign lands, into the inaccessible area, into space. And what they do is they use the data they collect through their satellites and data, images, you name it. They study these images, what it is, through infrared rays, actual images, and a lot of other data they could collect, maybe weather, temperature, what you name it. Through their satellites images, they study these images and they predict trends. They have a bunch of areas they could discover trends, monitor daily, deliver insights. They do the insights too. They study this data and they give you. Those are the main domains they work with. Oops, right there. It's agriculture, civil government, defense, intelligence, energy. I don't know if you guys were keeping track of. I mean, this is the last memory I have. The Chinese immigration problem, not immigration problem, the problem they're having with the Muslims, the Uyghur Muslims, Uyghur Muslims. And the camps, I don't want to call them camps. Let's say that the facilities they built for training, for retraining, reprogramming these Uyghur Muslims, they were caught through satellite images, right? And so there's some things you just can't hide as a government. So I would imagine a lot of North Korean stuff with the nuclear tests or whatever you name it, you could figure out through satellite images. So one thing you can do is agricultural trends and the way cities are developing, based on what structures governments and people build, you can to a large extent predict or determine what they are, what systems they're following, what they're trying to achieve, what direction their country will go to. So that's just a superficial understanding of what this data could give. I'm sure there are a lot more insights you can. It's just very interesting. No civilization in history has ever imagined such kind of insights. And it's so exciting that it's accessible to obviously anyone who can afford it, to anyone. To anyone who can have money or convince people to pay something. It's not just a government, it's a private company, open for all. Data is not subjected to any particular government. I guess it's limited to the super rich for now. I don't know the prices, but it's just fascinating that the availability, the existence of such a facility is portrayed to the world, is showed to the world, is showed to all of us as normal, common people, people with common perspectives. So let's see if I can find it. So one write-up they had, one study they did on was in 2018, and the top global trends driving the agricultural revolution, driving the fourth agricultural. I just read the title and I realized I should have at least looked at what the other three agricultural revolutions are. Should we Google it? I don't know. I feel like this video might be getting too. Who goes? That's it. Second and third. Oh, all right. That's some history. Something I don't know about now. Well, this is the gist. I will look it up and maybe tell you guys about it one day. So let's read the trends. A rising population resulting, something I mentioned, probably got that information from here. By 2050, I read somewhere, and we'll see it in the National Geographic. Oh, actually, I'll mention it as we read it. Declines in farm income. Farm profits are record low. This is something I didn't know. I guess this is where the government helps come in. The government aids, but West probably shouldn't. So in India, we have a problem of too many people in agriculture. I think some 50% or 40% of our work, I think it's around 50% of our workforce is in agriculture, but they contribute only to like, I think 5 or 10% of the GDP. So a lot of it is because of these government subsidies and aids. It hasn't been managed or planned properly. It hasn't been developed properly, these economic plans. And I think that might be the problem. Maybe we're going to solve it. We don't know. These problems are solved slowly. So have to wait to the churn to solve these issues. Issues. We come from very privileged positions, me and Tinta. We might be amongst the most privileged in the country. Yeah, so I guess that gives the license to all those trolls and all you commentators to say whatever bad things you want to say about us. We're inhuman. We don't have a heart. We can survive your insults. Okay, so digital native consumer. Oh, this is awesome. So this I think has to do with millennials. You probably mentioned millennials. There you go, millennial customers. Oh, we all use tech, you know. We want things delivered at home. For me, for example, I live in apartments. I have something called there's a company called Big Basket Daily. You can order food every day. They deliver it every morning. I'm sure countries around the world have it. Very convenient. Whatever you want, whatever they can provide. High quality food, reasonable prices, affordable prices. Digital disruption consolidation. Right. So I guess this has to do with retail, wholesalers, all the parts of the supply chain getting into digital food loss away. This is something I think we should all work towards, and I wish there was more done about this. 795 million hungry people. What is it? I think a third of the food is wasted. Yeah, you rich country folks, Americans, Europeans, you guys wasting most of the food. Yeesh. Do something. Start a movement. I want to talk. I waste less food, I guess, but I do consume a lot. But I waste some, and also I'm sure we don't. We waste as a country. We waste quite a bit. So something everyone should work towards. 792 million. Something I promise if I'm in a position to, I'll work towards. We'll see. Start. You rich folks start. We'll follow. So we always do. The value chain to farm robotics. So this, I guess, stuff like even quadcopters that are used. That's pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen it, but a lot of countries are using quadcopters. We'll get into that too. Pretty fascinating. Automation, you know, data, they calculate the pH, temperature, all this. The computer gathers all the data, determines what's optimal watering, irrigation, optimal light exposure, optimal temperature, you name it. And then optimizes the growth and the yields of plants. There's this other video, you should check out these videos on these vertical farms. And there's one video where he says they've basically figured out how to make it's equivalent to making the day half. So you have a 24-hour a day, but you halve it. So it's like the night and day cycle. They do the light becomes the sun, the LED light. So they make it like a 12-hour night and day cycle. As a result, you're getting double the yield you would get by your traditional farming. That's pretty fascinating. That's like playing God, right? It's crazy. Insane if you ask me, but it's awesome. We're here, the technology is available, it's being implemented. Guess we're getting closer to our imagining hypothetical, mythological, theological gods. That's pretty cool. Remote sensing, right? Drones and all that. You don't need farmers. In fact, well, it's sensing for now. So as we'll see, I'll get into detail of this. I'll talk about next few pages. Machine learning, again, gathering your data, machine determining what's the best course of action. Blockchain, this I should probably talk about. This is something very fascinating. If the viewers have been listening to other talks, I've mentioned Bitcoin at least once, and something I'm completely into. I believe in the system. I believe in the economic doctrine and stuff like that. It seems to be reasonable to me. I do believe it's the currency of our generation, the millennials, and every subsequent future generation. So, one claim of the application of blockchain is to trace items that are moving through a supply chain when it's being delivered to all the logistics companies and shipped and transported. The ability to track every single item. So that's something. That's something. Sorry about that, listeners. There was an interruption. That's something we are working on. Sorry, that's something a blockchain they believe could do. It's something they believe the blockchain could do, and that is why we are doing it. Sorry, I've been distracted a little bit. I think I'm getting a call that is interrupting my recording feed. I hope it's recorded. Well, I'll figure out at the end of the video. We'll see. So blockchains they claim, but it hasn't been proven. The systems haven't been proven. People are still working on it. There's still a long way to go before this technology. But I'm glad there's been a company that's at least trying it out all the way to China. All the payment, no paperwork. It increases the speed of delivery. So that's a pretty big deal. So we'll see. We'll see how that technology is. So these are trends, planets. Check out the website. Check out everything. So I should probably now, it's a good time to, I said this from Saudi Arabia. If you notice, this is my homepage. Our starting thumbnail was the image of this farm. This farm, you'll be surprised, is present in Saudi Arabia. It's crazy. It's a complete desert. And so Saudi Arabia has a problem of clearly farming and they can't grow things. And therefore, what they try to think of new ways that they could start growing things. And one thing they figured out is that they had these deep underneath the deserts in the Syrian desert. This is the northwest of Saudi Arabia. And underneath, they had this reserves of water that was frozen during the Ice Age. Way back in the Ice Age, that's when the water was frozen. That's when they had these underlying supply for water. What do you call it? Fossil water, fossil. I think they call it fossil water. They mentioned. So I don't know how they discovered it, but somehow they discovered it, or maybe they already knew about it. And they figured out a way to get pumps deep inside. They use some modern pumping techniques, and they pump out the water. Water is pumped into a new system of irrigation called, what is it called? Center pivot irrigation. Where is that name? There you go. Circular sprinkler system. I will show it to you in a moment what that looks like, but still fascinating. Somewhere in the middle of the desert. That's how much we've progressed in agriculture. Nothing imaginable in the last centuries, decades. We've figured out a way to grow plants in the desert. Arid land, previously considered unagriculturable, but mankind's ingenuity never fails to impress. And yeah, that's a sensible. So that's what it looks like. I'm just giving a thumbnail. I can't play the video because it'll scroll my computers. I don't have a system with high enough specifications to handle playing a video and running ODS. But that's what it looks like. So that whole stretch, their wheels, they pivoted into the center of a center. Maybe show you another shot. Yeah, there you go. There's a pivot there, and the rest of the line pivots around that spot. That's where the water is pumped from it. And you'll notice that just making sure this code is running. Yeah, you'll if you see the video, check out how it's made, and you'll notice that what happens is water sprinkles through these small outlets along this pipe, and it circles around. I don't know. It could be several kilometers. I mean, not kilometers, maybe hundreds of meters long in radius, and therefore covers a huge area of land. What is that? 5 square. That's around 300 meters square, right? If I'm not wrong, a little over 300 meters square. So that's how big you could go if you're 100 meters long, but I guess it'll be longer than that. Should watch this video. It's a small 1-minute video describing one patch of land that they did this on. So it's brilliant. It's absolutely fascinating, brilliant. Again, all of it computer controlled. The center pivot has a lot of computer. It can regulate the flow of water. A lot of data you can get by placing sensors on this. It's fascinating. You require no labor to water the entire field. Just through these pivots, you can control the rate of pivoting, when to pivot. It's not like a sprinkler system. It's not. Another modern alternative would be drip irrigation, but it's not that easy either. You don't need to lay down lines. And it's also water, like for example, in lower third world developing countries, they dig bore wells, and you could solve farming. It's especially useful for desert regions. Uh, what's next? What's next? I thought I'd show you. So look at this. This is Saudi Arabia. Again, cool image. Saudi Arabia. Look at that. All the deserts, and you can see this whole transition to this beautiful, lovely looking nation. It's getting all green in Southeast Asia. Look at that. Look at the amount of green. Whoa, Google Maps is fascinating. I'm not gonna. I could do this all day. For now, I'll just show you Saudi Arabia. Look at that. Arid land, green, yellow, brown, no green, nothing. This is the northwestern region where the magic happens, where they tried out these center pivot. Look at that. Doesn't that look like fake? Doesn't it look like? Look at that. It's so organized. It's so computer-esque. It's like a circuit. I don't know, circuit disk. I don't know. It's like a picture from Intel. The Intel. I don't know, the silicon discs. If you've seen, I don't know. What is this? It's a pattern on a piece of clothing. That's so unnatural. That's beautiful. Look at it. It's like you drop those glittery, decorative things you have on clothing, makeup stuff. I guess girls' clothing, primarily. Whatever. Beautiful. So that's how powerful technology can be, and it's one of the trends. I don't need to tell you how beautiful Google Maps is. We could be exploring the world all day. But yeah, so that's about Saudi. Two other countries that are leading in agricultural technology. You've probably heard it. If you haven't, I'd be surprised. But it's Israel. One is Israel, and watch this video. They give a gist of what they've done. Drip irrigation came from Israel. If you haven't heard about that, it's to summarize. It's a simple system where only droplets of water are poured optimally and directly to the roots of the plants. This could be in soil plants as well, and it reduces the amount of water required as well as improves the health of there are disadvantages of flooding the floors and pouring excess water to plants. So irrigation is optimal irrigation is a significant contributor to the health of the plant well-being of the drip irrigation significantly contributes to that. Other things they use, again, big data, everything we mentioned. These guys are at the forefront of using all these technologies. Big data, machine learning, quadcopters, water recycling, greenhouse gases. So this is a well-known fact that they're doing well, the Israelis, or at least in agriculture. They might not be able to be said of their presidents, and I don't know, he's facing, as I speak, he's facing some corruption charges. So there's that, and a lot of issues with Palestine. It's not a perfect country, but they do a lot of beautiful things. Which country is, right? Which country is, except India? Which country is? Netherlands. Oh, except, well, when I said except India, I was being sarcastic, but Netherlands and Sweden might be good candidates for perfect countries. I suspect the right wingers wouldn't agree, at least some of them, but a lot of them would. And they're forefront. They have a university called, what was it? I think you'll come across this article. This article you should read. It's a beautiful article describing the current state of agriculture in Netherlands. When I say current state, I'm saying the state 2 years ago, 2018 maybe. Sorry for the blurred image. My internet is fine, but like I said, my computer processing is taking toll. Oh, I can't find that university. I think it's called Vergengarten or something. So I'm trying to sound like a Dutch person, but I couldn't pronounce it correctly. There it is. Wageningen. Wageningen. Am I saying it right? My accent good? I don't know. Sorry if I offended anyone. Anyways, Wageningen University and Research. So that's a popular, reputed agricultural institution. A good reputation across the world, one of the best in the world, apparently. At least this article claims so. Again, describing the revolution of green. Look at that. Look at that. Look. any country can get an image like that, like something looking so beautiful. It's good enough to determine how developed that country. It's a heuristic, I would use. Call me naive still, but I think it's a good heuristic. If such beautiful images, assuming it's not edited, could be taken of any country, it's a developed. Oh, look at that house. All in the those are greenhouses, beautiful greenhouses indoor. Again, I would imagine these protect these herbs, crops, horticulture, whatever they're growing, from different weather patterns and weather conditions. So it's a huge advantage. Let's see if LEDs. I covered everything, and I was just trying to show you guys, illustrate how cool this is and how beneficial it is to many countries. Netherlands provides more than 1/3 of all seeds to the nations they are exporting. They're the second biggest exporting nation in the world. It's a small country,